Between enchantment and tragedy, the life of orcas in captivity. From the first encounters with Namu, the orca that captured hearts in the 1960s, to the saga of Keiko, the star of Free Willy, human fascination with these magnificent creatures has proven to be as dangerous as it is enchanting. Stories of friendship and hope intertwine with pain, isolation, and the dark realities of captivity. From Tilikum to Namu, from Keiko to the waves of partially attained freedom, each narrative reveals the hidden cost of animal exploitation and questions the ethics of turning intelligent, sensitive beings into entertainment attractions. Prepare to dive into true accounts of love, suffering, and resilience, where every splash in the water tells a story of courage, loss, and, above all, the price of human curiosity about the wild. And the story doesn't end here. At Loro Parque, the orca training routine uncovers even darker limits, showing that not every interaction ends well. But before we begin, make sure to subscribe to our channel and leave a like. Now, let's get started. Theme 1: Initial Fascination and the Unexpected Tragedy. Imagine standing at the edge of a sparkling pool. The crowd's euphoric cheers echo around you, and suddenly, a sleek orca emerges from the water, gliding with grace. The audience, captivated by the spectacle, applauds enthusiastically, many paying hefty sums to witness the performance. Everything seems perfect, a scene of harmony between humans and nature. But in an instant, the mood shifts dramatically. The orca's joyful energy turns dark and threatening. Before anyone can react, its massive jaws snap around a victim, dragging her into the depths. The crowd's excitement quickly turns into screams of panic. The water churns violently as Jessica Radcliffe confronts the terrifying reality of the moment. What began as her passion transforms into unimaginable horror in a single day, and the events that followed were even more devastating. From a young age, Jessica seemed destined for a career with marine animals. Her father, a marine biologist specializing in whales and dolphins, introduced her to the ocean world early on, sparking her fascination with marine life. Growing up on the Pacific coast, Jessica often accompanied her father on research expeditions, watching in awe as he studied dolphins and whales. These moments shaped her understanding of nature and solidified her bond with the giants of the ocean. Jessica's first exposure to an orca show at Ocean Haven Marine Park, NDA, elevated her excitement to another level. Inspired by the success of parks like SeaWorld, the park quickly gained popularity near Monterey, California. From that moment, Jessica decided she would become an orca trainer. At just 19, she started as an intern at Ocean Haven, and her dedication and natural talent quickly set her apart. Within a year, she secured a permanent position on the training team. By 21, Jessica achieved something few ever do. She became the primary trainer for Kiana, the park's largest and most popular orca. Kiana measured 6.7 meters long and weighed nearly 500 kilos, starring in 6 weekly shows and drawing thousands of visitors. Jessica's connection with Kiana was remarkable. Colleagues noted she had a unique bond with the animal. While other trainers sometimes struggled with Kiana, Jessica could bring out her best. However, troubling signs began to appear. Kiana displayed unpredictable behaviors: aggression during feeding, refusal to follow commands, and tail slapping against the pool walls. In one particularly alarming incident, the orca lunged at a trainer during feeding, almost pushing him into the water. Curiously, when Jessica was nearby, Kiana remained calm and responded accurately to her commands. Recognizing this rare ability, park management decided to entrust all performances to Jessica, despite concerns from other staff. Theme 2: The Fatal Attack and Traumatic Consequences. As Jessica entered the water, Taku played around her, spinning lightly, as if enjoying himself. But suddenly, without warning, the orca's behavior changed drastically. It attacked Jessica, clamping its powerful jaws around her torso. The assault was intense and swift, catching everyone by surprise. Jessica's air was ripped away, and the horrified audience watched in shock as the massive orca violently tossed her in the water. Trainers on the platform reacted immediately. Emergency signals were given, and distraction techniques were quickly applied. Buoys, ropes, and even fish were thrown into the water to divert Taku's attention. Two trainers prepared to enter the water with poles, but the orca's immense strength and fury made any safe intervention nearly impossible. Jessica remained submerged for over a minute, being spun and shaken by the animal's titanic force, with no chance to escape. Taku's immense power caused catastrophic internal injuries, including broken ribs and severe organ damage. A punctured lung and extensive chest trauma turned the water water red. Finally, Jessica's lifeless body was released and surfaced. Rescue divers pulled her from the water within seconds, but the damage was irreversible. Attempts at resuscitation with CPR at the poolside failed, and she was pronounced dead on the spot. Later, it was confirmed that Jessica had suffered multiple blunt force traumas and drowning. As the horrifying scene unfolded, park staff worked frantically to evacuate spectators. Screams of panic echoed through the stands as parents shielded their children from witnessing the horror. Many young visitors were visibly traumatized, some still clutching souvenirs from the show, unable to fully comprehend what had happened. Entire families left in haste and shock. Others froze, unable to process the tragedy before their eyes. The incident sent shockwaves through Ocean Haven and the marine park industry. Jessica was widely recognized as one of the park's most skilled and sensitive trainers, with an unprecedented bond with Taku. Her death raised numerous questions. Was it an expression of the orca's wild instincts, or warning signs neglected by the park? Colleagues and visitors remembered Jessica as a dedicated trainer whose life was devoted entirely to caring for and studying marine animals. Her family held a special memorial ceremony by the sea, celebrating her passion, courage, and unique bond with Taku. However, her death also sparked intense discussions and debates about safety and ethics. Could Ocean Haven have done more to prevent such a tragedy? Should Taku's unpredictable behaviors have been taken more seriously? And above all, should orcas be kept in captivity for human entertainment? After the incident, Ocean Haven Marine Park was permanently closed. Taku was moved to a new marine sanctuary in Washington State, where he would live out his remaining life in a captive environment that mimicked the ocean, with minimal human contact. Although the sanctuary could not fully replicate the vastness of the open sea, it offered a more natural and peaceful life, away from the pressures of public performances. Jessica's tragic loss served as a stark warning about the dangers of working with orcas. The incident also raised the unsettling possibility that future victims could be visitors rather than trainers, reminding everyone of the inherent unpredictability of these giant animals and the urgent need to rethink safety and ethical practices in marine parks. A lasting reminder that behind the beauty and spectacle lies a wild power that can never be fully controlled. Theme 3: The Tragedy of Daniel Dukes and Tilikum. Imagine a quiet July night in Orlando, Florida at SeaWorld. The park, usually crowded during the day, was now silent under the dim moonlight, broken only by the gentle ripples of the pools where the park's most famous animals rested. Among them stood out Tilikum, the massive 12,000-pound orca measuring 67 feet long, known for his striking black and white pattern and enormous size. But behind his majestic appearance lay a wild, untamed force few could comprehend. The night's tranquility was about to be shattered tragically by an unexpected visitor. Daniel Dukes, a 27-year-old man with a troubled and contradictory past, entered the park like any other visitor. His previous life was marked by addictions, petty crimes, and episodes of erratic behavior. To some, he seemed kind and caring towards stray animals. To others, unstable and unpredictable. Dukes had previously shown unusual behaviors, including eccentric trespassing. This history of impulsive and erratic actions culminated in his decision to sneak into SeaWorld that quiet night. While most visitors saw the orcas merely as attractions, Dukes felt something spiritual in them, a connection that existed only in his distorted perception. He walked through the park, observing the attractions, but his eyes remained fixed on Tilikum. As the day ended and the park emptied, his determination intensified. Ignoring physical barriers and warning signs, Dukes showed no intention of leaving, guided by a mistaken belief that he could interact with the orca in a special way. When the park's doors finally closed and the last visitor left, Dukes was alone, immersed in his thoughts and plans. Darkness enveloped the park, turning it into a silent and threatening space. He approached Tilikum's pool, walking with firm steps illuminated only by dim overhead lights. Upon reaching the pool's edge, he stripped to his shorts and took a deep breath before plunging into the cold water. For a moment, the water's surface rippled, then returned to calm as if nothing had happened. But beneath the surface, Tilikum was already aware of the intruder's presence and on alert. The orca's massive body moved with lethal grace, its black eyes fixed on Dukes. The animal's instinctive and powerful presence was evident. A decade in captivity had limited its natural experiences, but had not erased its primal instincts. Dukes swam cautiously, unaware of the imminent danger. The tank's depth seemed even greater as he moved away from the edge, and Tilikum's shadow approached silently, an immense, almost incomprehensible force. The attack was swift and devastating. Tilikum rose like a colossal train, striking Dukes with brutal force, breaking his ribs and leaving him stunned and defenseless. The 12,000-pound strength was impossible to resist. In a terrifying movement, the orca clamped Dukes' jaw at an unexpected angle, intensifying the chaos and dragging him into the tank's depths. The water churned violently with the animal's fury, moving with a mix of instinct and frightening aggression. Within seconds, the pool returned to silence, Dukes' body floating motionless as Tilikum circled it, seemingly assessing its prey. The following morning, park staff preparing for the day were met with the horrific scene. Daniel Dukes' mutilated body floated in the water, a macabre reminder of the wild strength of a captive orca and the inherent danger of underestimating such powerful animals. This incident sent deep shockwaves through SeaWorld and the marine park industry, raising questions about safety, animal behavior, and the ethics of keeping orcas in captivity. Theme 4: The consequences of tragedy and the story of Namu. After the attack on Daniel Dukes, the consequences were immediate and devastating. His injuries were severe and evident. Tilikum's enormous jaws had caused deep damage, leaving clear marks of an extreme attack. The news spread quickly, shocking the public and raising numerous questions. How had Dukes managed to bypass the park's security? What led him to enter the orca pool? Investigations tried to reconstruct his movements and motivations. It became clear that a combination of curiosity and a distorted sense of spiritual connection with the orca drove him. Meanwhile, Tilikum's role in the incident sparked intense debate. This was not the first death associated with the orca. His history included previous incidents that raised concerns about the aggressiveness developed during years in captivity. Critics argued that prolonged confinement had transformed a magnificent hunter into a kind of time bomb. And for SeaWorld, the event became a public relations nightmare. While the park's management faced severe criticism, activists pointed to Tilikum's violent history as evidence of the dangers of captivity. Despite public outrage, one question remained unanswered. What motivated Daniel Dukes to take such a reckless action? As the pool waters returned to calm, the memory of that terrible night remained a grim reminder of the fragility of human interactions with wild animals. The real drama of captivity, however, begins long before attacks occur. It starts the moment these magnificent predators are taken from their natural habitats and forced into a life of performances and restrictions. The effects of confinement are often invisible but can be profoundly destructive. Tilikum's story was not the first to reveal this devastating truth. In 1965, near a small town on the coast of British Columbia, a young orca was captured in a salmon net. Named Namu, he was taken from his familiar seas and introduced to captivity, beginning a trajectory that would become one of the most controversial in the history of orca confinement. Namu belonged to the northwestern Pacific orca population, known as the CB group. His fate changed when William Lacobit, a fisherman, discovered him and sold him to Ted Griffin, owner of the Seattle Aquarium. Griffin saw in Namu not just an animal, but an opportunity to attract crowds, generate profit, and turn the orca into a show star. At the aquarium, Namu quickly became the main attraction. For the first time, the public had the chance to see a live orca up close. His playful behavior, impressive size, and bond with Griffin created the image of a gentle giant, challenging the popular perception of orcas as merely fierce predators. Namu won public admiration, becoming a beloved symbol, but the price of his fame was invisible. The pressure to perform daily in a small tank was intense, taking him away from his natural lifestyle. Despite being fed 180 kilo of salmon daily, Namu suffered from the physical and psychological impacts of captivity. Life in confinement limited his freedom and natural behavior, transforming an open sea predator into an entertainment attraction. Yet the bond between Namu and Griffin captivated audiences, often in an almost telepathic way, delighting crowds. In 1966, shortly before the release of the film Namu, My Best Friend, Namu died. The film idealized the relationship between a man and his orca, telling an emotional and optimistic story about Hank, a biologist, protecting Namu from local fishermen who saw the animal as a threat. The production helped transform public perception of orcas, portraying them as majestic creatures in need of protection. However, the reality behind Namu's fame was much darker. The autopsy revealed multiple illnesses, including bacterial infection and digestive problems, aggravated by life in captivity and exposure to polluted waters. His death was a sad reminder of the consequences of confinement and the exploitation of wild animals, highlighting that spectacle often conceals the real suffering of the protagonists. Theme 5: Keiko, the impossible return and the fight for freedom. Keiko's story was not only about capture and display, it was a vivid testimony to the tension between human fascination and animal suffering. Like Namu, Keiko became an involuntary symbol of the cost of exploitation, but her trajectory highlighted even more the lasting consequences of prolonged captivity. Unlike the idealized narratives of films and media, her life was far from peaceful. Confined to tiny spaces, separated from her family and natural environment, she faced daily physical and psychological stress, a reality invisible to the public. Born on September 24, 1976, in the icy waters of Iceland, Keiko was separated from her mother and the social group that formed her natural community while still a child. In 1979, at only 3 years old, she was captured by Joe Gunnarsson, an employee of the Welling Company, an event that likely destroyed decades of the local orca population's genetic lineage. Initially renamed Siggy and later internationally known as Keiko, her life became divided between isolation and public exhibition. The early years were especially traumatic. Kept in a small tank and exposed to audiences at a theme park in Iceland, Keiko had no space to express natural behaviors such as swimming long distances, hunting, or interacting with other orcas. Early captivity generated stress, disease, and psychological trauma, reflected in her behavior and deteriorating physical health. Despite this, she performed repetitive shows for tourists, turning her suffering into spectacle, while the public's perception remained limited to an image of strength and gentleness in an exotic creature. In 1982, Keiko was sold to Marineland in Canada, where she faced similar challenges. Even with a larger tank and performances for larger audiences, problems persisted: skin lesions from chemicals in the water, difficulty socializing with other orcas, and clear signs of stress. Keiko remained emotionally isolated, without belonging to any social group, which heightened her suffering and sense of loneliness. In 1985, she was transferred again, this time to the Renault Aventura in Mexico City, where conditions reached critical levels. The tank, about 3 meters deep, was inadequate for an orca over 6 meters long. The water, artificially salted instead of natural seawater, caused skin irritations and other health issues. Despite all these adversities, Keiko continued to perform 5 shows daily, even as her body and mind suffered continuously. Keiko's paradox lies in her expression of resilient nature, and simultaneously in the evidence of the devastating consequences of captivity. Her deteriorating physical condition and social isolation were not only side effects of capture, but manifestations of a life that denied her basic instincts. Every interaction with humans, no matter how affectionate or seemingly friendly, concealed years of frustration, pain, and forced adaptation to a completely artificial environment. Her story becomes even more relevant when considering subsequent efforts to reintroduce her to the wild. Unlike Namu, whose fate ended tragically in captivity, Keiko became the center of a global movement for the liberation of exhibited orcas. Her case revealed the complexities of rehabilitating animals that had spent years in confinement, the need for social reintegration, adaptation to unknown ecosystems, and recovery of survival skills that, though innate, had atrophied due to prolonged captivity. Keiko thus became an icon not only of human exploitation of marine animals, but also of the limited capacity of science and conservation to repair damage inflicted by decades of commercial display. Her story inspired international debates on animal ethics, captive species rights, and human responsibility to restore lives destroyed by entertainment. Despite adversity, Keiko showed extraordinary traits of empathy, memory, and social learning. In each interaction with caregivers and later with rehabilitation volunteers, she demonstrated intelligence and sensitivity, underlining the injustice of her captivity. Her trajectory revealed that the true tragedy of exploitation lies not only in physical death, but in the loss of freedom, natural expression, and social connection that define the life of orcas in their habitat. Keiko is remembered not just as a victim of dark commercial practices, but as a symbol of resistance and a lasting lesson in human responsibility. Her story transcends captivity and serves as a continuous warning. Entertainment cannot justify the destruction of wildlife, and every captive orca carries the memory of its instincts and the pain of denied freedom. Her final years, including rehabilitation efforts and eventual partial release into natural waters, did not erase the permanent effects of decades in confinement, but opened pathways for new policies of protection and global awareness. Keiko remains therefore as a bridge between the human world and the wild sea, reminding us that even in adversity, the spirit of a conscious being can inspire significant change in the way we interact with nature. Theme 6: Keiko, from movie star to the quest for freedom. In 1993, Keiko's life changed suddenly when he was cast to play Willy in the movie Free Willy. The moving story depicted Jesse, a child fighting for the freedom of his orca friend, Willy, and this narrative deeply touched audiences worldwide. Keiko went from being just a captive orca to becoming a symbol of hope and freedom for marine animals. The power of the film generated a wave of global empathy, mobilizing millions of people, but it also sparked heated ethical debates. For many, Free Willy was an inspiring story celebrating the human-animal connection, highlighting the intelligence and sensitivity of orcas. For others, however, Keiko's situation was deeply ironic and disturbing. The film criticized animal exploitation, while Keiko himself remained in captivity, displayed for human entertainment. Critics questioned whether it was morally right to use a real orca in a project meant to celebrate freedom when the animal's own life reflected the exact opposite. The emotional impact was immense. Over 300,000 people wrote letters, made phone calls, and signed petitions demanding Keiko's release. For them, he was not just a movie star, but the embodiment of the freedom Willy achieved on the big screen. Despite this massive support, Keiko's reality was harsh. During filming, he was overweight, suffering from gastric ulcers, a weakened immune system, and skin lesions due to poor captivity conditions. Every scene was a painful effort for an already fragile animal. The $75,000 Keiko earned for his role was withheld by his owners, leaving him without adequate medical care. However, public pressure continued, and in 1995, the Free Keiko Foundation was established. Managed by Warner Brothers and the International Marine Mammal Project, the foundation aimed to raise funds for Keiko's rehabilitation and, if possible, reintegration into the ocean. Over $7 million were raised thanks to the generosity of individual donors and support from millions of children around the world. With these resources, Keiko's physical and behavioral recovery began. In January 1996, Keiko was transferred from Mexico to the Oregon Coast Aquarium in Newport. For the first time in his life, he lived in an environment that simulated more natural conditions, a saltwater tank with enough space to swim. Over 8 months, Keiko regained weight, strengthened his muscles, and began reacquiring skills lost during years of confinement. The ultimate goal, however, was to prepare him for definitive freedom. In 1998, the final phase of rehabilitation began. Keiko was taken to the small island of Klettsvik in Iceland. Training included learning to swim long distances, hunt independently, and regain natural survival instincts. Equipped with a satellite transmitter, Keiko participated in open sea excursions, reconnecting with his natural environment. After 17 years in captivity, he was finally ready to return to the ocean. In the summer of 2002, Keiko's release was carried out. Initially, he swam freely along the Icelandic coast and was seen on multiple occasions. However, Keiko displayed unusual behavior. Although he occasionally interacted with groups of wild orcas, he never fully integrated with them, preferring to stay close to humans. This hybrid relationship reflected years of domestication and the complexity of reintegrating an animal deeply affected by captivity. Tragically, in December 2003, at 27 years old, Keiko died of pneumonia in Tromsø, Norway. His death marked the end of a long and complex journey that began with captivity and exploitation, but also inspired significant changes in public perception of orcas and other marine animals. Keiko's story demonstrated both the resilience and vulnerability of these creatures, reminding the world of human responsibilities toward wildlife. Keiko's case also highlighted the importance of ethics in interacting with intelligent and social animals. He became a symbol not only of hope and freedom, but also of critical reflection on the limits of animal exploitation for entertainment. Although his return to the ocean was partially successful, his story emphasizes that full rehabilitation of captive animals is a complex and delicate process, requiring patience, resources, and, above all, respect for the natural behavior of each species. Keiko's saga ends, but the debate over captivity and freedom continues. It paves the way for broader reflections on how human societies can coexist with oceans and their inhabitants without causing irreversible harm. In the next chapter of this narrative, we will explore another tragic case, the training routine at Lora Park, which ended in disaster and marked the fate of experienced orca trainer Alexis Martinez, raising questions about safety, responsibility, and the limits of domesticating marine predators. Theme 7: The tragedy at Lora Park and the limits of interaction with orcas. Lora Park, located in Tenerife, Spain, was considered one of the most advanced marine mammal entertainment and training centers in Europe. Among the most experienced trainers was Alexis Martinez, an orca specialist with decades of practice, known for his patience, technique, and dedication to animal welfare. For visitors, the performances seemed like pure magic, orcas jumping, swimming in sync, and interacting with humans in apparently harmonious ways. Behind the spectacle, however, there was a rigorous, often dangerous routine, marked by discipline, risks, and constant tension. Alexis had a close relationship with the animals, based on respect and trust. He understood the intelligence and physical strength of orcas, but even the greatest respect could not eliminate the inherent risks of working with predators weighing tons and capable of causing irreversible damage. His career was marked by success stories, but also silent warnings, minor incidents that could have ended in tragedies, warning signs rarely fully understood by the public or park management. One fateful afternoon, during a routine training session, Alexis was conducting interaction exercises with an orca known for its unpredictable temperament. The routine included complex commands and delicate physical approaches, testing both the animal's response and the trainer's skill. What should have been a trust-building exercise quickly became critical. The orca, for reasons never fully explained, possibly stress, frustration, or an instinctive reaction, attacked Alexis. The impact was devastating. Despite his experience and quick reflexes, Alexis was severely injured. The incident occurred within seconds, reminding everyone that no matter how close the human-animal bond is, the strength and unpredictability of a captive orca can never be fully controlled. Rescue attempts were immediate but insufficient to prevent the tragedy. Alexis Martinez lost his life, leaving a community of trainers, scientists, and admirers shocked and saddened. The accident sparked intense debates about safety in marine mammal training. Experts argued that despite advanced handling techniques and protocols, the risk could never be completely eliminated. Alexis's death served as a grim reminder of the limits of human interaction with large captive animals, showing that mutual trust between trainer and orca, though real, is no guarantee of safety. Moreover, the episode highlighted the ethical complexity of captivity. Orcas, like Keiko and others mentioned earlier, are highly social, intelligent animals with sophisticated emotional memory. Keeping them confined in small tanks and forcing interaction with humans for entertainment creates significant stress, alters natural behaviors, and in extreme cases can lead to unexpected aggressive reactions. Alexis's tragedy showed that even the most experienced are not immune to the consequences of this conflict between wild nature and human captivity. After the incident, Lora Park implemented strict changes in safety protocols, including increasing physical barriers, revising interaction procedures, and ongoing staff training in risk prevention. Nevertheless, Alexis's death remained a painful reminder that animals cannot be fully domesticated and that respect for their strength and instincts is essential, even when they seem cooperative or friendly. Alexis Martinez's case also reignited public debate on the validity of keeping animals in captivity for entertainment. While visitors continued to be fascinated by the shows, scientists, activists, and segments of society questioned, to what extent is it justifiable to keep such complex animals in artificial conditions for recreational purposes? As Keiko's story had shown, animal welfare and freedom are often sacrificed for profit and amusement, and as Alexis demonstrated, the human cost of this exploitation can be as high as the animals. Thus, the Lora Park episode became a turning point in global perception of orcas and marine mammals in captivity. It exposed not only the physical risks involved, but also deepened understanding of the emotional and psychological consequences of prolonged confinement. Alexis Martinez's death was a personal and professional tragedy, but also a catalyst for changes in management practices and a continuous warning about the need to rethink human interaction with intelligent and socially complex predators. In retrospect, both Keiko's and Alexis's stories reveal an undeniable truth. Captivity and human entertainment often collide with the natural instincts and deep psychology of animals like orcas. Every jump in a show, every command obeyed, is the result of decades of learning, training, and often silent suffering. And although there are moments of genuine connection between humans and orcas, the thin line between trust and danger can never be ignored. Thank you very much for watching the video. If you enjoyed our content, please subscribe to our channel and leave a like. Also, check out other interesting videos appearing on your screen right now, and I'll see you in the next video. See you next time.